Okay, we'll move on to Mountaineer Creative Arts Council funding. You have information?
Yeah, this is for the play that they're putting on now.
Yeah. $2,000. Do you remember what we gave them last year?
I did.
I'm not sure either.
I think that's the same figure, but again,
He would like to be put on the list of donations, because they do this every year.
yeah,
And he would like to be put on the list of donations each year.
okay. All right. Okay.
Is that all? Just your form?
You what?
No speaker. That's the only form I see.
Yeah. From him before we did that.
Now, are you saying we have to act on that right away? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Well, he's requesting money for this play.
Yeah, when's the play?
Next month.
April.
Yeah, it's next month. And we had this last time we did.
Oh, I don't know.
That's this fiscal year.
That would come out of this fiscal year.
Okay, well, I don't know, I'd like to discuss that a little bit.
And then they get other, like you said over here, they go to businesses and they get, they ask for money from some of the local businesses and stuff, and they get some, so whatever they would get, they would appreciate.
Can we look and see how much we gave them last year before we make a decision on this?
Table it until next.
I like to table till our next meeting. I like to get a little more information before I make a decision on that. Okay, next on the list is notification of 911 of spills and signs of public water supply.
That came on the last meeting, we worked it on the agenda.
Yes, okay. I guess I want to open up for discussion before we do anything. Go ahead, you got anything to discuss about?
You thought it was a good idea? I'd like to see it done.
Okay, Greg?
I think it's a good idea also.
Who's going to be responsible for notifying 911? That's my question. How's this going to come about?
Whoever sees the accident. If you're in a public water supply,
Okay, that's my question.
I agree with Jim Foster, but the other thing is if you have a response like those tanker trucks that ended up in the water and stuff like that, the company that's responsible or the company whose vehicle is having an accident should be notifying 911. Also, the other situation is that the emergency squads or the volunteer departments, the EMS, they should be notifying, but I mean, those would be the responsible parties, but definitely the company whose vehicle is responsible for the thing, because the State Department of Environmental Protection is not doing that. They are not doing it when it's called in and stuff. They're not notifying EMS, the 911 stuff.
Okay, how we enforce this?
I really don't know, Ralph, because it's something that perhaps Pat Easter could check into, because the emergency response, our emergency response vehicle that's in place might be something that can address it. But I don't know if you guys have to do an ordinance or do something, but somebody needs to call the water plant when something happens.
that needs to be 911.
That's
911 needs
That's right.
have-
That's
have
part
a
of their
tree
protocol.
of who to notify in case of a spill. The first place would be, to me, would be the water. And then the sheriff's department or the state police. And the ambulance authority.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll get back to my original question. Who's gonna notify them? She mentioned the people that's in the accident are gonna be responsible for notifying 911. That makes a lot of sense. My question is, what if they don't?
Who notifies 911 in case of an accident up here at 18 and 50?
I have no idea.
Same difference.
I assume that whoever is responding to the accident, they do. I guess. I don't know. Can you answer that, Brent?
Well, the first initial call in is either from a person involved in the accident, a person that drives by.
Okay.
It could be, I mean, if we're in our ambulance going down the road and we see an accident, we're going to report it.
Okay.
It could be somebody driving by, it could be the person involved. Ultimately, right now, as far as notifying the water plant and stuff that there's contamination, is either the fire department or the OES director. When we get on scene and see, okay, we do have something in the water, it is a hazardous material, then OES steps in, contacts the water plant and all authorities that is involved or needs to be.
Well, I'm gonna make a suggestion, okay? If 911's gonna be contacted, which I'm gonna agree to that, I think everybody is in agreement with that, then why don't you let 911 make the calls to the responsible people that they need to?
Right.
And there's no confusion.
I think that you need, because I could see an accident and it might be water coming from the radiator, and I don't know if that has any hazardous materials in it. But if I notified, it might be and it might not be. I think that it would be, in my opinion, it would be the responsibility of somebody in the emergency services field that would have to, that would need to do that.
Look, who notifies an emergency responders? 911.
Right.
So what would be wrong with having a tree of, when you notify the emergency responders, if it involves a wreck on 50, that which most of it will be in the drinking water watershed, just call the, you have a tree of who you're gonna notify. No
They
big
have
deal.
one.
But what I was saying was, if it's not a hazardous material, and they've been notified, and they shut down when it wasn't necessary.
Well, even if he does shut down, he's still got a reserve of 48 hours of water. Isn't it? Oh, it's good.
May I ask a
Wait a
question?
minute. We got other people that wants questions.
First of all, there is protocol. Whenever somebody dials 911, 911 puts the fire departments out. Fire departments go out, they say, oh my gosh, there's a placard, there's a spill, call back 911. 911 notifies everybody that needs to be notified. At least that's what's supposed to happen, okay? Including the water plant. There will be times when the OES director will pick up the phone and say, shut down the water plant. This is all in protocol.
We have protocol for this type of thing. It's
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah.
We have to reinvent the wheel.
There's one other lady behind you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. I think he's right. Maybe we should add that to this, that if it involves one of these tankers, these gas,
The dispatcher's supposed to pick that up.
Okay, ho. Just don't everybody start. All right. Have a little order here. We've been very good today. Don't get me riled up. Hey, Hudson, go ahead.
I recall that it is the state that normally is called or has the authority when it comes to spills like these tankers. Yeah, am I wrong, Gary?
Something I have to look into. I
Okay.
don't know. I mean,
Because
anytime someone's involved in an accident, you have to call 911, or else it's a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a
Not
different
happening.
protocol that involves the state, I'm not quite sure. That is something I have to look
It
into.
seems to me there does need to be some research done here in terms of whose responsibility and what can the county do in certain kinds of accidents. Make sure they're very clear on that. Because if I'm not mistaken, there have been some accidents where the locals were not called. The state was there. And the state legitimately was there and not the local people. So that, I think, needs to be sorted through, because the county cannot, unless they get permission from the state, rewrite state law,
Thank you,
okay?
thank you. Anybody else got any? Mr. Wellington?
I could try to find out a little bit more. My wife's working part-time down there in the town office there. And I know from, hearing her talk that they pretty fast get a call at the water office whenever anybody thinks anything's been put in the creek.
Okay.
And I don't know who they're getting these calls from. I'll try to find out, who the guy with the water plant usually gets a call from. But I do know that they get calls really quick. I know some instances in the last year where, there have been tankers run in a ditch, nothing was even spilled in the creek, but yet they immediately had a call, shut down their water supply. And they had to investigate and see what was going on. Where those calls come from, I don't know. I'll try to find out.
Anybody else got any questions?
I think if you go back and check, you'll find that the spill reported is under DEP, and the reason it's under DEP is they want to protect the oil and gas people. Well, there's nothing in the law that says when people are in danger that you have to go through the state to notify that the damn creek is polluted.
Well, I
Let's
think
get
we
this
want to
straight.
make sure that anything that the commission does, in my view, does not abrogate what is in state law. And they can come, and then the oil and gas people have an excuse. They don't want to be sued again. I don't
That'd be
know.
the best thing that ever happened to them. They ought to stay in court.
Okay,